The ship came out of nothing. One moment, the sky held stars. The next moment, it held something else. 3 kilometers of black metal, shaped like a blade someone had forgotten to stop sharpening. It did not orbit Earth. It parked above it, like a boot hovering over an anthill. The Valori did not ask permission to speak. They did not introduce themselves. They simply spoke, and every screen on Earth, every phone, every television, every laptop, showed the same face. Ambassador Kethvon had gray skin and eyes like frozen mercury. He looked at humanity the way a landlord looks at a late rent check. "You are species 4417, he said. His voice was calm, patient, the voice of someone who had done this 4,000 times before. "You have been assessed. You have been measured. You have been found adequate for service to the Valori Ascendancy." He explained the terms. 30% of Earth's annual production. Every year. Forever. 10 million humans selected for service roles in Valori space. Every cycle. The cycles were not explained. Genetic samples from every bloodline on the planet. For the biolibraries. The libraries were not explained either. "You have 72 hours to confirm your acceptance," Kethvon said. "This is not a negotiation. This is a notification. We do not negotiate with species who have not yet earned the right to speak." The transmission ended. For 6 hours, the world screamed. News networks ran out of words. Governments ran out of plans. People ran out of places to hide from the thing in their sky. Then the United Nations called an emergency session. Secretary General Adora Okonkwo was 73 years old. She had survived 3 civil wars in her youth. She had buried 2 husbands and 1 daughter. She walked with a cane made from wood her grandfather had carved, and she had not raised her voice in 19 years. She sat in the Great Hall and watched the delegates argue. Some wanted to negotiate, buy time, find out what the Valori really wanted. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Better to live as servants than die as heroes. Some wanted to fight. They were shouted down. Fight with what? The Valori ship had not even activated its weapons, and it had already disabled every satellite in orbit just by arriving. Ambassador Kethvon requested a response to confirm that humanity had received the terms. The request was polite. The politeness made it worse. "Show them what compliance looks like," the Russian delegate demanded. "Show them we understand." The Valori sent footage. It was a planet called Thessar, green and blue like Earth. The Thessari had negotiated. They had compromised. They had bought time, cycle after cycle, giving a little more each time to keep the peace. The footage showed what Thessar looked like now. Strip mines where forests had been. Processing facilities where cities had stood. And the Thessari themselves, the ones who had survived, working the mines. Their children sorted rubble. Their elders pulled carts. They did not look up. They had forgotten how. The chamber went quiet. "They cooperated," the Chinese delegate said. Her voice was flat. "They did everything right." "Yes," Okonkwo said. She had not spoken until now. "They were very reasonable." She stood. The cane clicked against the floor as she walked to the podium. Every camera in the room, every camera in the world, followed her. "I was born in a village that no longer exists," she said. "It was burned when I was 9. The men who burned it were very reasonable, too. They explained that cooperation would make things easier. They explained that resistance was foolish. They explained that we should be grateful for the opportunity to serve." She looked at the screens showing Kethvon's face. The ambassador waited with the patience of something that had never been told no. "My grandmother did not cooperate," Okonkwo said. "She hid me in a well. She fought them with a kitchen knife. She died in the dirt outside our home, and her death gave me time to run." The chamber was silent. "I have been running my whole life, running towards something. I did not know what it was until today." She straightened her back. The cane stayed planted. "We decline." Kethvon's mercury eyes flickered, the first sign of any reaction. "We decline your terms. We decline your service. We decline your assessment, your measurement, and your offer of adequacy. She smiled. It was not a kind smile. You want tribute from Earth? Come and take it. But understand this. We are not the Thessari. We do not cooperate. We do not compromise. We do not kneel and hope the boot falls gently. She leaned toward the camera. You have 72 hours to leave our system. This is not a negotiation. This is a notification. She turned off the transmission herself. The chamber erupted. Half the delegates screamed that she had doomed them all. The other half sat in stunned silence, waiting to see what would happen next. Okonkwo walked out. In the hallway, her aide caught up with her. A young man, pale and shaking. Madam Secretary, what do we do now? We can't fight them. We don't have anything that can— Yes, we do. She pulled out a phone. An old phone, the kind that still had buttons. She dialed a number that connected to a facility that did not exist on any map. A voice answered. Calm. Ma'am. General Reyes, it's time. A pause. A long one. Are you certain, ma'am? Once we start down this road— I'm certain. Understood. The voice did not waver. What are your orders? Okonkwo looked out the window. The Valori ship hung in the sky like a wound in the world. Beautiful and terrible and absolutely certain of its own power. Wake up the orphans, she said. And General, ma'am, tell them to be creative. She hung up. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, in a facility that existed only in whispers, 47 men and women received new orders. They had trained for this. They had waited for this. They had prayed for this in their own dark way. They did not smile. Smiling was for people who still had something to lose. They got to work. Above the earth, Ambassador Kethvon reviewed the human transmission for the third time. The words were clear. The meaning was not. Decline, he said, tasting the word. It felt wrong in his mouth. They decline. His aide waited nervously. Should we begin the correction protocol, Ambassador? Kethvon stared at the blue planet below. They are insects, he said. They live 80 years. 80. They have no fleet, no weapons, no allies, and they decline. He turned away from the window. Yes, begin the correction. Show them what happens to insects who forget their place. He did not know it yet, but he had just made the worst mistake in the 11,000-year history of the Valori ascendancy. The insects were listening, and they were already sharpening their stingers. The Valori correction fleet arrived on the third day. 40 ships, enough firepower to burn continents. High Admiral Vethkon stood on his command deck and watched Earth turn below him. He had done this 200 times, conquered 200 worlds, broken 200 species who thought they could resist. This would be number 201. Broadcast the final offer, he told his communications officer. Standard terms. They kneel or they burn. The message went out. Every human heard it. Submit within 6 hours. Your leaders will be executed publicly as a lesson. The rest of you will serve. This is mercy. Do not waste it. The humans sent something back. A shuttle. White flags painted on its hull. A delegation, requesting permission to board the flagship and discuss surrender. Vethkon allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. They always broke. The primitives always broke. Allow them to dock, he said. Prepare the execution chamber. I want their leaders' deaths broadcast to the planet. The shuttle docked. The airlock opened. Commander Marcus Webb was 41 years old. He had lost his wife and son in a car accident 7 years ago. He had been recruited by the Orphan Program 6 years ago. He had spent every day since learning how to hurt things that could not be hurt. He was smiling as he walked off the shuttle. The Valori guards were 8 feet tall, gray skin, silver armor, eyes that glowed faintly blue. They carried weapons that could melt steel. They did not concern him. Where are your leaders? The guard captain demanded. Change of plans, Webb said. He pressed the detonator. The shuttle's cargo hold contained 40 tons of antimatter. Not a lot by Valori standards, but enough. The flagship vanished. Not exploded, vanished. The next moment, it was light and heat and silence. Webb was smiling when he died. He was still smiling when the light took him. On Earth, the orphans watched the flash through their monitors. Primary target destroyed, someone said. General Reyes nodded. His son had been on that shuttle, his only son. He did not let himself feel it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. 39 ships left, he said. Begin Phase 2. The remaining Valori ships did not wait. They opened fire. Beijing was the first to burn. Then Moscow. Then New York, London, Sao Paulo, Lagos. Pillars of fire rose from every continent. Millions died in the first hour. The survivors ran. But not away. They ran down. Into bunkers. Into tunnels. Into the bones of the earth itself. Humanity had known this was coming. They had prepared for 3 years, ever since the first Valori scout ship had been detected. The cities on the surface were decoys. The real cities were underground. 20 million people died on the first day, but 7 billion survived, and they were angry. The Valori landed ground troops on day 4, 30,000 soldiers, each one worth 100 human fighters in direct combat. They entered the jungle of Southeast Asia, expecting broken survivors and easy victories. The jungle ate them. The humans did not fight fair. They did not line up for battle. They hid in trees and holes and rivers. They attacked from nowhere and disappeared into nothing. They used traps that the Valori had never seen. Pits filled with sharpened wood, wires connected to explosives, poison in the water. 2,000 Valori soldiers went into the jungle near Old Vietnam. They were elite units, the best of the best. 19 came out. The 19 did not speak. They would never speak again. Something had broken inside them, something that Valori medicine could not fix. A rescue team found what the humans had left behind. The bodies of Valori soldiers, arranged in the trees like decorations, hung from branches, posed in mockery. A message was carved into the largest tree. You wanted tribute? Here it is. High Admiral Vethkon watched the footage from orbit. He had seen many things in his 4,000 years. He had never seen this. They are animals, his aide whispered. No. Vethkon's voice was strange, hollow. Animals fight to survive. This is something else. He watched a human soldier charge a Valori position. The soldier was wounded, bleeding. He should have been running away. Instead he ran forward, a grenade in each hand, laughing. The explosion killed 12 Valori warriors. What is he laughing at? The aide asked. Vethkon did not answer. He was beginning to understand something terrible, something his species had forgotten in 11,000 years of easy conquest. Some things could not be conquered. Some things could only be destroyed. And some things, the worst things, did not care about the difference. 3 weeks into the war, the humans broadcast a message, unencrypted. They wanted the Valori to hear it. A soldier appeared on screen, a woman. Her face was bloody. One eye was swollen shut. She was grinning. Hey there, she said. My name is Sarah Chen, Private First Class, Earth Defense Force. I've got a message for your admiral. She held up something, a medallion, Valori design. I took this off your admiral's son. Yeah, the one from the flagship that went boom. Turns out he was on a shuttle that got away. We found him in the wreckage of a hospital ship your people bombed. Barely. She leaned toward the camera. You bombed our hospitals. You killed our children. You thought we would kneel. Her grin got wider. Here's our counteroffer. You want your admiral's kid back? Come and get him. I'll be waiting. Bring friends. She transmitted coordinates. Then the screen went black. Vethkon stared at the blank screen. It's a trap, his aide said. Obviously. We should ignore it. The admiral's son is expendable. Vethkon turned to look at his aide. His eyes were cold. That woman killed 16 of my soldiers with her bare hands before we pushed her back. I watched the footage. She did not run. She did not hide. She fought until her weapons were empty. Then she fought with a knife. Then she fought with her fists. He looked back at the screen, and she is smiling. He sat down heavily. 4,000 years old, and he felt older than ever. "We are not fighting a species," he said. "We are fighting something that wants to die. Something that has decided that its death will cost us more than our victory. That is irrational." Yes, Vethcon closed his eyes. That is exactly the problem. Deep in the underground bunkers, General Reyes received reports from every front. They were losing, slowly, but losing. The Valori had too many ships, too many soldiers, too much firepower. But they were also bleeding. For the first time in recorded history, the Ascendancy was bleeding. Reyes looked at the wall of his command center. Someone had painted words there, months ago, when the orphan program first began. "If we cannot win, we will make victory cost more than defeat." The flash of light. The smile. "Sir," an aide said, "we have reports of unrest on 3 Valori colony worlds. They're watching our broadcasts." Reyes looked up. "What kind of unrest?" "Small stuff. Protests. Graffiti. Someone wrote 'Remember Earth' on a government building." Reyes allowed himself a small smile. His first in weeks. "Good," he said. "Let them watch. Let them see what happens when someone fights back." He turned back to the maps. There was work to do. The war was just beginning. 2 years. Earth had been at war for 2 years, and it was still fighting. The Valori had committed 400 ships to the campaign, the largest fleet assembled in 3,000 years. They controlled the skies. They controlled the oceans. They controlled everything they could see. But humans had learned to live where they could not be seen. Underground cities stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Factories built in caves produced weapons day and night. Farms grew food under artificial lights. Children were born in bunkers and had never seen the sun. Above ground, the Valori ruled ashes. Below ground, humanity survived. And more than survived. They fought. High Admiral Vethcon had not slept properly in 6 months. The Valori did not need much sleep, a few hours every few weeks, but what little he got was filled with nightmares. He dreamed of the jungle, of trees decorated with his soldiers, of human eyes that did not look away. His aide found him staring out the viewport at Earth. The planet was scarred now, covered in gray patches where cities used to be. It should have been conquered. Every model, every simulation, every historical precedent said it should have been conquered. "Report," Vethcon said. "We lost another patrol in the mountain region of what they call Nepal. 40 soldiers, no survivors. Cause of death? Avalanche. They triggered it deliberately, buried themselves along with our troops." Vethcon closed his eyes. "They live 80 years, he said. 80. We live thousands. We should be precious to ourselves. They should be precious to themselves. But they spend their lives like coins, buying our blood with theirs." He watched a human broadcast playing on a side screen. A woman teaching children in an underground classroom. Mathematics, history, Psalms. The children were laughing. "How do they laugh?" he asked. "They are losing. They are dying. How do they laugh?" His aide had no answer. On Thessar 7, a mining colony 6,000 light-years from Earth, a Korathi worker named Ven stopped to look at his tools. The Korathi had been slaves for 6,000 years. They were small creatures, barely 4 feet tall, with 6 arms and skin the color of rust. They had forgotten what freedom looked like, but they had not forgotten how to listen. For 2 years, they had listened to broadcasts from Earth, human broadcasts, intercepted and shared in whispers. Stories of resistance, stories of a species that said no. Van looked at the mining pick in his hand. It was not a weapon, it was a tool. But a tool could become a weapon, if someone was brave enough to hold it that way. He thought about his children, his grandchildren, all of them born in mines, all of them destined to die in mines. He thought about the human woman on the broadcast, Sarah Chen, the one who smiled while she bled. "If the mayflies can fight," he whispered to himself, "why can't we?" He did not know that in 30 different minds across Thesar-7, other Karathi were asking the same question. He did not know that in 40 other systems, other species were having the same thought. He only knew that something was changing. Inside him, inside everyone. He gripped the pick tighter, and went back to work. But he kept it close. On the asteroid Ceres, human forces achieved their first major victory of the war. A team of 50 soldiers, led by Captain Sarah Chen, now promoted, still smiling, attacked a Valori supply depot. They expected weapons, ammunition, food. They found children. Thousands of stasis pods filled the depot. Inside each one was a Valori child, being transported to safe sectors away from the war zone. Chen stood in the chamber, surrounded by pods, and felt something she had not felt in 2 years. Doubt. "Captain?" Her lieutenant waited for orders. "What do we do?" Chen looked at the pods. The children inside were sleeping, peaceful. They had never hurt anyone. They were not soldiers. They were just kids. "Secure the facility," she said. "Post guards. Get medical teams to check the life support." "Captain?" "We're not monsters." Chen's voice was hard. "We're not them. These are children. They stay safe. They stay fed. They stay alive." "And when the Valori demand them back?" Chen smiled. It was a cold smile, but not cruel. "We tell them their children are safer with us than with them. We don't bomb hospitals." The message reached the Valori Empress within hours. She was old. Older than Veth Khan. Older than the Ascendancy's recorded history. She had ruled for 9,000 years, and in all that time, she had never seen anything like this. The humans had captured Valori children. They had the perfect hostages, the perfect leverage, and they had chosen to protect them instead. "It's a trick," her advisor said. "They want something." "Yes," the Empress said. "They want us to know they are not animals." She read the human message again. "Your children are safe. We do not make war on the young. This is the difference between us." "This is propaganda," the advisor insisted. "They are trying to weaken our resolve." She was thinking about something her grandmother had told her 10,000 years ago, when she was young and the Ascendancy was still new. The most dangerous enemy is not the one who wants to destroy you. It is the one who wants to become better than you. She had not understood then. She understood now. The broadcast went out to every species in the Ascendancy. The humans made sure of it. "We found your master's children. We could have killed them. We chose to save them. This is who we are. Who are you?" On 40 worlds, people who had not thought about rebellion in generations began to think. On 12 worlds, they did more than think. The first Karathi uprising happened on Thesar-7, in the mines where Ven worked. He was not a leader. He was not a soldier. He was just a miner with a pick and a question that would not go away. 300 Karathi attacked their overseers. They had no training, no weapons except their tools. They should have been massacred. They won. When the Valori reinforcements arrived, they found the mines empty. The Karathi had vanished into the tunnels, taking their families and their tools. Someone had written something on the wall of the main shaft. "Remember Earth." The Empress called an emergency council. Her admirals, her advisors, her generals, all the most powerful beings in the galaxy, gathered to discuss a single problem. 12 systems in open revolt, the war minister said. 40 more showing signs of unrest. Production is down 15% across the empire. "It is because of the humans," someone said. "They are broadcasting constantly, teaching other species to resist. Then silence them." "We have tried. They adapt. They use methods we have never seen. They cannot be silenced." Silence fell. "What happens," she asked, "when the humans are finally destroyed? What happens to the rebellions then?" "They will collapse, without the symbol." "Will they?" She stood, 9,000 years old, and her voice still carried the weight of worlds. "Or will the humans become martyrs? Will every species remember that someone fought us?" Will they tell stories about Earth for 1,000 years? No one answered. We are fighting a war we cannot win, she said. If we destroy Earth, we create a legend. If we let Earth survive, we show weakness. Both options end our empire. One ends it quickly, one ends it slowly. She looked at her admirals. Their faces were grim. Find me a third option, or accept that the mayflies have beaten us. That night, in her private chambers, the Empress stood alone before a window that showed the stars. She thought about time, about how the Vylori measured it in thousands of years, and humans measured it in decades, about how her species had forgotten what urgency felt like. The humans had not forgotten. They lived every day like it might be their last. They loved desperately. They fought desperately. They died desperately. And in dying they had lit a fire that would not go out. What have we awakened? She asked the stars. The stars did not answer. But somewhere, in the darkness between worlds, the fire was spreading. The Empress made her decision on a cold morning, in a room where decisions had been made for 11,000 years. Authorize the Genesis Protocol, she said. Her advisors went pale. Even the most ruthless among them hesitated. Your Majesty, the Genesis Protocol has only been used twice. It is meant for existential threats, not... The humans are an existential threat. The Empress did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Not because of their weapons, because of their ideas. Every day they survive, more worlds remember what resistance looks like. Every day they fight, our empire cracks a little more. She looked at the document in her hands. A death warrant for an entire species. We will trigger their sun. Sol will ignite. Earth will burn, and the rebellion will lose its heart. And the other uprisings will collapse when they see that hope dies too. She signed the document. The choir of ending was a fleet that existed only in nightmares. 12 ships, each one carrying weapons that could kill stars. They had been used twice in Vylori history. Both times, nothing remained. Not planets, not people, not even memories. They arrived at the edge of Sol's system on a Tuesday. Earth time. The humans did not know they were coming. Admiral Vethkon watched them take position around the sun. He felt sick. Is this necessary? He asked the choir's commander. The Empress has decided. We are destroying billions of lives. We are protecting trillions. The commander's voice was flat. The mathematics are clear. Vethkon thought about the jungle, the trees, the laughter of human soldiers who knew they were going to die. The mathematics, he said, are the problem. On Earth, General Reyes received the warning from a spy deep inside the Vylori command. 72 hours until activation. He gathered his commanders in the deepest bunker on the planet. Secretary General Okonkwo was there. Sarah Chen was there. 50 others, the last leaders of a dying world. We knew this might happen, Reyes said. We prepared. He pulled up a holographic display. A network of stars, small dots moving between them. Project Exodus. For 2 years, we have been launching colony ships in secret. 2 million humans, genetic samples, cultural archives, seeds, embryos, knowledge. They are scattered across 17 star systems. Humanity will survive, Okonkwo said, even if Earth doesn't. But that's not the plan, Chen said. She had figured it out. You have something else. Reyes smiled. It was a tired smile. A smile that had cost him his son, and his sleep, and most of his soul. Project Lazarus. He changed the display. Now it showed something different. Thousands of small drones, hidden in the asteroid belt. FTL capable, loaded with information. Every song we ever sang, every story we ever told. Every act of defiance, translated into 4,000 languages. He looked at the faces around him. If Sol burns, these drones scatter across the galaxy. They find every species in the ascendancy. They deliver one message. The display changed again. Text appeared. They killed us because we would not kneel. Will you? The room was silent. We cannot win this war, Reyes said. We knew that from the beginning. But we can make sure our death matters. We can turn ourselves into a legend that will never die. Every slave in the Empire will know our name. Every tyrant will fear our memory. Okonkwo stood. Her cane clicked against the floor. Tell her we want to negotiate. Negotiate? Tell her about Lazarus. Tell her what happens if she kills us. The old woman's eyes were hard. Let her choose between a quick death and a slow one. The message reached the Empress 1 hour later. She read it alone. Then she read it again. You can kill us, but you cannot kill what we have become. Destroy Seoul, and you don't end a rebellion. You create a religion. Every species in your empire will hear our story. They will sing our songs. They will fight in our memory. Forever. Or you can negotiate. The Empress sat in the darkness for a long time. 11,000 years. Her empire had lasted 11,000 years. And now a species that lived 80 years, 80, was offering her a choice between two kinds of defeat. She could destroy them and watch her empire burn slowly. Or she could let them live and watch her empire change forever. Either way, she had already lost. We will negotiate, she told her council. The admirals erupted. Outrage, disbelief, accusations of weakness. You cannot negotiate with vermin. I can do whatever I choose. The Empress's voice cut through the noise like a blade, and I choose to negotiate. The Genesis Protocol is suspended. She stood. We will find another way. She left the room. Behind her, her admirals looked at each other with eyes full of something new. Doubt. That night, 12 admirals met in secret on a ship at the edge of the Sol system. They did not inform the Empress. They did not ask permission. She has lost her mind, Admiral Kethvan, no relation to the ambassador, but just as ruthless said. Impossible. The humans have poisoned her thinking. They have poisoned everything. Kethvan looked at the sun burning in the distance. This ends now. We triggered Genesis ourselves. Without the Empress's authorization, the Empress is no longer fit to rule. Kethvan's voice was cold. History will thank us. When Earth is ash and the rebellions have been crushed, history will call us heroes. He gave the order. The choir of ending began charging their weapons. On Earth, Chen was sleeping when the alarm woke her. Genesis Protocol activated, someone was shouting. They're ignoring the Empress. They're going to fire. She was running before she was fully awake. Running to the command center. Running to the end of the world. Reyes was already there. His face was gray. How long? 72 hours, maybe less. Can we stop it? We have one ship fast enough to reach them, the Defiance. Skeleton crew, one-way trip. Chen looked at the display, the sun, the choir, the distance between. I'll go. Reyes shook his head. You can't fly that ship. We need pilots, engineers, people who know they're not coming back. Then find them. Reyes was quiet for a moment. We already have 3,000 volunteers. HR. The selection took 6 hours, not based on skill. Everyone was skilled, based on something else, something harder to measure. The final crew, 40 people, all of them had lost something that could not be replaced. All of them had something to prove. They called themselves the Last Light. Their ship was named the Spite. Chen watched them board. She had volunteered. She had been rejected. You're more useful alive, Reyes had told her. You're the symbol now. You have to survive. She hated him for being right. The Spite launched at midnight. No speeches, no ceremony. Just 40 people flying toward a sun that was about to die, hoping to save a world that had already suffered too much. Chen watched until the ship was gone. Then she went to find a weapon. If the Spite failed, she wanted to be ready. Ready to fight until the last second. Ready to make sure the Veilori remembered what humanity looked like. ready to die on her feet. The countdown continued. 71 hours. 70. 69. In the darkness between worlds, the Spite flew on. The Spite was not a warship. It was a transport vessel, rebuilt and armed with whatever weapons the underground factories could produce. It had no right to survive what was coming. It survived anyway. Pilot Lieutenant Maria Santos flew like someone who had already accepted death. She pushed the engines past every safety limit. She made maneuvers that broke bones and burst blood vessels. 3 crew members died from the acceleration alone. She did not slow down. The Valori interceptors came in waves, dozens of them, faster, better armed, better armored. They should have destroyed the Spite in minutes. But they could not predict it. Their tactical computers ran thousands of simulations, and the Spite broke every one. It dove toward weapons fire instead of away. It accelerated when it should have stopped. It did everything wrong. "They are insane," a Valori pilot reported before the Spite destroyed his ship. "They are flying like they want to die." They did want to die. Just not yet. Not until the mission was complete. The Spite crashed into the Genesis weapons superstructure at 0347 hours, Earth time. The impact killed 23 crew members instantly. 8 more died in the first 5 minutes, crushed by debris or burned by exploding systems. 9 remained. Diego Reyes, son of General Reyes, the one who had died on the shuttle in the first days of the war, was not dead. He should have been. The console next to him had exploded. Half his body was burned. He got up anyway. "Core is 2 kilometers in," he said into his comm. "Anyone still alive?" 8 voices answered. 3 were wounded. All of them were moving. "Let's go." The Valori security forces were waiting for them. 300 elite soldiers, the best the Empire had, armed with weapons that could cut through steel, trained for 10,000 years. 9 humans faced them. The battle lasted 37 minutes. It would be studied for centuries. The humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like something that had already died and refused to accept it. They used their bodies as shields. They used their weapons until the weapons broke. Then they used their hands. They bit, they clawed, they screamed. One by one, they fell. One by one, they took Valori with them. The security footage was recovered later. Historians would watch it in silence. Some would cry. A Valori general, viewing it for the first time, said only, "They were not trying to win. They were trying to make us remember." 2 humans reached the core, Sarah Chen and Diego Reyes. Chen's leg was broken. She had crawled the last 100 meters. Reyes was carrying her when they finally reached the door. The core was a sphere of light. Beautiful. Terrible. Inside it, processes that humans barely understood were building toward a single moment, the death of a son. "It can't be shut down remotely," Chen said. Her voice was weak. She had lost too much blood. "Someone has to stay. Manual override." "I know." Reyes set her down against the wall. His hands were shaking, from exhaustion, from fear, from something else. "You should go," Chen said. "You have family. Your father, my father died 2 years ago. Same mission I'm on now." Reyes smiled. It was his father's smile, the one that meant goodbye. "Guess it runs in the family." "Diego, you have to survive, Sarah. You're the symbol now. You're the one they'll remember. I'm just a guy who was in the right place at the wrong time." "That's not—" "Go home." He turned to look at her one last time. "Make it mean something." He stepped into the core. He sealed the door behind him. Chen watched through the window as Diego Reyes walked toward the center of the light. She watched him raise his hand to the control panel. She watched him look back at her, one last time, and wave. She did not hear the explosion. Sound does not travel in vacuum. But she saw the light. Brilliant, blinding, collapsing inward instead of outward. The Genesis weapon destroyed itself. The sun survived. Earth survived. Diego Reyes did not. The Valori Empress received the news in silence. The rogue admirals were dead, their fleet was destroyed, and the humans, the mayflies, the insects, the species that should have been conquered in days, were still alive. She looked at the report for a long time. Then she gave the order. Open negotiations, full diplomatic status, whatever they want. Her advisors stared at her. Your Majesty, the war is over. Her voice was quiet, tired. We lost. The treaty was signed 6 months later. Earth was granted autonomous partnership status. Not a victory, not a surrender, a beginning. The Valori did not apologize. They did not admit wrongdoing, but they withdrew their fleets. They released their claims. They watched as humanity began to rebuild. And in the systems that had risen up, Thessar, and Korathi Prime, and 40 others, the slaves who had become free looked to the stars and said a name. Earth, the place where someone had finally said no. 10 years later, the Galactic Council met for the first time. A new body, born from the rebellions that Earth had inspired. 12 species, including humans, including the Korathi, including 3 species who had been told they would never be free. A Valori representative attended, not the Empress, but present, watching, learning. The human ambassador rose to speak. She walked slowly. Her leg had never fully healed. Sarah Chen. She carried a small box. She placed it on the table before she began. Inside was a mission patch. Diego Reyes had worn it on the spite. It had been recovered from the wreckage of the Genesis weapon, somehow intact. We did not come here as conquerors, Chen said. We came here as proof. Proof that the universe is not owned, that tyranny is not permanent, that sometimes the small and the brief and the fragile look up at forever and say one word. She paused. No. The chamber was silent. We are humanity. We remember our dead, and we honor them by building something worth dying for. She sat. The Korathi delegate began to applaud. Small hands, 6 of them, clapping together. Then the others joined. The Valori representative did not applaud, but she did not leave. Outside the council chamber a child was waiting. She was 8 years old, half human, half Korathi, adopted after the war by a woman who had lost too much and decided to love something anyway. Mama, she said, what was the meeting about? Chen knelt down. Her leg ached. It always ached. She did not mind. It's about what happens when someone tells you that you don't matter. What happens? Chen smiled. It was not a gentle smile. It was the smile she had worn in 100 battles. The smile that had made the Valori afraid. You proved them wrong. The child thought about this. How? Chen took her hand. They walked together into the light. You survive, she said. You fight, you build, and you never ever kneel. Above them, the stars burned, bright and cold and infinite. But not as cold as they used to be. Not anymore. In the archives of the Valori Ascendancy, a new word was added to the language. The first new word in 4,000 years. Keth Valor. It meant, those who taught us fear. It was not an insult. It was the closest thing the Valori had to respect. And whenever someone asked what it meant, the answer was always the same. It means human, the archivists would say. It means the ones who said no. Far away, on a blue planet that had almost died, children played and rebuilt cities. They learned songs about heroes who had given everything. They learned names that would never be forgotten. Marcus Webb, Diego Reyes, Adaora Okonkwo. And they learned the most important lesson of all. The universe does not give you freedom. You have to take it, even if it costs everything, especially if it costs everything. This is what it means to be human. This is why the stars remember.